Cool. There we go. Fine. So what we'll be going through today is big data and what the future holds, and taking it from a Vodafone perspective, with a sub perspective of looking at Google as well, and how Vodafone are utilising Google. So from a speaker and panelist perspective today, we've got Dorian McCree, who's the head of big data at Vodafone UK. We've got Ulas Malli, who is Global Senior Commercial Manager at Vodafone Group. We've got Wellen, who's Key Account Executive at Google Cloud. And then myself, Darren Ellicott, and I'm the Lead Account Manager at hackajob. So from an agenda perspective, and I'll get the guys to introduce themselves in a little bit more detail in a second, what we'll be running through today is we'll be doing some introductions into ourselves, why use big data, and then Ulas will take us through Vodafone Group and how they're adopting big data practices. Adam will then take us through GCP technology and looking at some of the more advanced tools, including BigQuery. Dorian will then take us through the journey that Vodafone UK are on at the moment from a big data perspective and live working at Vodafone. And then we'll have a Q&A section at the end. So anything that you put into the Q&A section, we've left some time at the end, about 15 minutes. So please make sure that you get your questions in there. So I guess just to start, guys, do you want to one by one introduce yourselves and tell the attendees a little bit about your backgrounds?
Yeah, hi, so my name's Dorian McCree and I head up the big data team in Vodafone UK, which is part of the Vodafone Group. I've been with Vodafone for a ripe old 19 years, most of those roles in analytics in Vodafone UK, but also recently in Vodafone Group as well. So I've seen things from both a central perspective and a local market perspective, and seen a lot of Vodafone's kind of data journey and analytics journey over the last 19 years.
Super. Hi, everyone. This is Ulas from Vodafone Group. I'm working as a senior commercial manager, and I'm focusing on market collaboration, strategy, innovation, and use case expansion across markets. In the background, I have also a consulting background and also marketing. So I try to help the group to commercialize our big data and AI. So thanks for today to attend.
Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. Adam Wellen. I'm the Google Cloud Key Account Executive aligned to Vodafone, which basically means that I support Vodafone across the multiple markets across the world. I've been working with Google for the last 2 years, and before that I have nearly 15 years of experience in the IT outsourcing sector. So nice to meet you and looking forward to today.
Amazing. So I guess, Ulas, if you want to run through your slides.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Darren, again. So as an introduction, as you know, Vodafone is the largest company in terms of the telco industry in the world. So we are especially focusing on Africa and European region. You can see that we have more than 600 million mobile customers globally, and also we have 27 million fixed broadband customers. But as you can see, we are not only a mobile customer company, we have also different products and services globally. As you can see, we are focusing on TV, also cloud, also IoT, security, and finance industries globally. In the latest year, maybe in the last financial year, we have more than 100 million connected devices in IoT sections, and our customers like BMW, Porsche, healthcare industry, also tech industry, we are trying to provide this service to global companies. Also, I don't know whether you are aware or not in the Africa region, but we are the biggest financial service provider in Africa with our M-Pesa solutions. So you can think that the Vodafone is also the fintech company in the Africa region and providing basic and advanced financial services globally. Also, we are very exciting that we are in the transformation period for the 5G technologies. As you can imagine that in the following years, we will have more data and more connected device with the help of the 5G technology, and this is really exciting for us. In the second slide, you will see that there are many figures, like every global companies. These are very huge, but the most important part for us is having a huge petabyte of data in the last financial years. It is around 2,730. you can see that we are generating this data from our networks. And of course, as I mentioned, with the 5G technology, we will increase it in the following years, and it will really create a value for Vodafone. So the main question for us, what will we do with this amount of data and how we can use it for becoming a more digital company? As you can see in the pandemic, in this 3 month period, the data and internet is becoming like a utility, like transportation, and electricity and water. So every company thinks that, or every people thinks that the data should be in our lives continuously. So of course, being a important part of your lives, also it's critical that we should not be only a utility provider company. Because of that reason, almost 5 years ago, we have started our digital transformation to become more digital company and more tech company. Because of that reason, you will see in the second slide, we have started to invest our big data and AI capabilities. In this slide, you will see that we have 3 stages, and we have started almost 5 years ago on the first stage. This is about optimizing our customer relationships. What is the meaning of it? Of course, we are trying to sell our customers to the best offer, best product and services. As you can see, with the big data and AI capabilities, we have started to make targeted campaigns, personalized offers, with the providing the right products on the right times with different models like churn management, disaster commander, price sensitivity, household identification, with many of them. In the second stage, the big data is not only for the customer, relationship. It's not only a marketing department. It is also cover all of the companies. So we went to HR department, we go to a finance department to increase our capabilities and create a new use cases. And the third stage, you can see that we have started external data monetization topics and start to give data science as a service. Of course, when we talk about the data, the privacy always the most essential part for all of us. So on the next slide, you will see that I tried to summarize our global environment with some figures. And with starting the data scientist part, we have more than 250 world-class data scientists globally, and 38 of them have a PhD degree. So we are trying to get a best talent from globally, from every country to our ecosystem. As you can see, we are running more than 200 different use cases globally, and we are making 82% of our marketing communication with using big data and AI, with specific countries like Dorian's region in the UK, and also in Spain and Italy, we have almost making a communication 100% with using big data and AI. I'm so happy that we are providing a great service, using the big data and AI capabilities amazingly. Of course, this was not the feature for us with the Google Cloud partnership, which will be given in the following slides, giving a great opportunity to us to expand these capabilities. This is not only about, of course, commercial side. As you can see, we got some awards and recognition from global institutes. We are not just focusing on the commercial use cases. We are also focusing on the social good projects. In the last years, we focused on malaria projects in Africa, and we made a partnership with Southampton University and Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation to fight with malaria with using big data. And also in these current months, more than 3 months, thanks to our global data science community, we are working on mobility insights and epidemiological models with our epidemiologist, with partnership with Southampton University. We are fighting with malaria in the local markets, and we have a great partnership between Google, local authorities, and Vodafone markets. What we are doing, we are providing mobility insights to the governments. We are also focusing on epidemiological models. So we are really proud of that part to provide, to show a purpose-led Vodafone to everyone and helping people's lives in the following months and following years. So as you can see from the screen, we have a huge community, and with the Google Cloud partnership, it will make us more beneficial, because in the next slide, you will see that before taking a decision to migrate to Google Cloud, we had a a regular legacy system to manage to build our models. As you can see in the bottom, we have a data sources from our different channels like network data, customer data, campaign history, digital data. We are getting this data to create our data features and store them into our legacy systems, legacy storage spaces. You can see it was transformed to Google Cloud, and we are in the transformation, we are in the migration period. We are building models in that space, and of course, try to give a great results, try to make more targeted campaigns, try to give a more results to our end users. So we try to make our customers more easy. Customers' life more easy. So thanks to Google Cloud in these days, we have already finalized our migration in Portuguese. We have also working on UK, Spain, Germany, Italy for the Google migration transformation. And we believe that it will help our lives a lot because as you can see from the Google Cloud capabilities, and Adam will give more details about them, they have more than 10 years experience about space management, storage management, also machine learning area. They are making a personalized over more than 10 years, so we don't need to rediscover Word again. So we will, thanks to Google again, we will use their capabilities to make our lives better. And of course, there are some standard models and standard capabilities in the Google Cloud area. But in addition to this, of course, we are building a new specific use cases with our data scientists. As you can see, we have a smart retail. This is not a standard way to build a model. This is helping a footfall optimization. Also, we have some digital propensity models and different specific models. Of course, we are also building this kind of capabilities too. So in the next slide, you will see that this is a very short summary showing that why we passed to Google. Of course, I try to summarize them, but Adam from Google will give more details on that. But for us, of course, it's a great space area with the latest technology. You can see that if you have a cluster in your own company, it is very hard to maintain it, and also it is not efficient to use it. Just you can think that there is a day and night differences. You're not using your system fully. So another things, it is, you know, it is maintaining of these platforms is very costly. With the Google, we will not invest in front to any technologies. They are building a system for us. The second things in the legacy system, it is almost 4 years in Vodafone. As you can see, we have 24 markets. What we are doing, we are building technologies all time to say we are building a new technologies. Maybe sometimes we are making some duplications. Think about that. In the different markets, we have different models, different data features, different storage areas, and different way of working. So Google help us to standardize and provide a single system to do every opcos. This will create efficiency, and also it is more effective for us. So for Google side, it is also not only for our big data and AI analytics area. They will also transform our BI systems, marketing platforms, and data analytics systems. So this will cover all of our lives. Also, the Vodafone, also we are changing our legacy system. The security and privacy was the most important topic for us. Of course, thanks to Google again, they proved that they will sustain our privacy and security topics with this new way of working, new technology. So we believe that we will continue to protect our customers and their provide and standard privacy topics to customers. And also the most important part for us, it is very important to retain our talents. As you can see that Vodafone during the 4 years, try to invest their technologies, platforms, and try to provide new trainings to the data scientists, data engineers, but it was hard to catch trends. Thanks to Google, they are driving the technology for us, so we will get most of the latest trainings, most of the technologies, most of the license, whatever, they will provide to our data scientists. So the Vodafone is becoming more a great place to work for the data science and these kind of communities. So this is my end of my slides. I think Adam from Google will give more details about the technical sides, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Thanks so much, Ulas. Cool. So
Hi.
Adam, over to you.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Darren. Thanks, Ulas. So Google, when you think of Google, you probably think about machine learning, but really that's quite hidden underneath a number of our products. These are products I hope you're familiar with: Google Search, Android, Google Play, Gmail, etc. And behind each of these products, there's a really complex web of machine learning capabilities that mean that we can deliver those services for free in most cases, because behind the scenes, the services are automated and we manage to personalize them to make sure that they're attractive to you as an end user. So Google has this extensive capability in machine learning, and we've built that up over 20 years. And in fact, every project we do in Google has machine learning at the heart of it. We think, how can we embed machine learning into this product? If we could go to the next slide, please. Within Google, we're also the world's largest purchaser of renewable energy. In fact, it's probably not that well known, but with Vodafone moving to Google Cloud, you will also be able to offset your carbon emissions because you're moving to a carbon neutral platform. And that's something we're really proud of, and we're excited to help Vodafone to be part of that as well. If we go to the next slide, please. However, to do machine learning, you need to have good data, and within Vodafone, you have a huge expansion of data. And if you look at the macro level, you can see that the size of the world data sphere is predicting to grow to from 33 to 175 zettabytes. I have to admit, I had to look up what a zettabyte was. In fact, it's 1 trillion gigabytes, or 1 billion terabytes, or 1,000 exabytes. So yeah, a huge growth in data, and therefore data is going to become increasingly important for organizations. An organization like Vodafone has access to a great amount of data, and by leveraging that, you'll be able to personalize services and give end users exactly what they want. If we go to the next slide, please. Google's platform, which Vodafone will be using, is essentially based on open source technologies. In the middle there, you can see that Google have written a number of white papers. So we wrote the original MapReduce white paper, Dremel and TensorFlow, which you might be familiar with. And they've essentially become open source products and services. And there's a big community out there. And if you think of Hadoop, if you think of Beam, and you think of the more modern ones like TensorFlow. And essentially the Google Cloud Platform is a managed service of what is essentially an open source based technology. And Google continues to innovate in both the open source versions and the Google Cloud managed services. If we could go to the next slide, please. One of the big tools that Vodafone will be using in the future, sorry, we're already using now and will be increasingly using in the future, is a product we call BigQuery. If you've come across this before, great. If not, think of a cloud data warehouse, but think of a cloud data warehouse that can do pretty much everything that you would want it to do. It not only kind of stores the data and automatically archives it and makes it efficient, but it can scale to exabytes and can basically process queries in SQL language, which most people are familiar with. It's also encrypted, highly durable, and very performant. Some of our big customers that use BigQuery and consumer products you might be familiar with beyond Vodafone would be Spotify, for example. If you think how many queries are going through Spotify and how personalized that service is, it just shows how big this can actually extend to. With Vodafone, we're also introducing real-time insights from streaming data. So gone are the days of batch. You can now actually use the same programmatic language to do both batch and stream and flip between the two. And it also has built-in machine learning capabilities. So you don't necessarily need to be a PhD data scientist. There are capabilities for those people, but if you are a bit newer to technology and you're familiar with SQL, you can do all of that from BigQuery and actually get into machine learning that way. Great, if we go to the next slide, please. And if you think of traditional data warehouses, they were, great at the time, but did have limitations. For example, there was restrictions on how many users could use the platform at any one time. It was traditionally batch data, as I mentioned earlier. There was a lot of effort that went into supporting and patching and updating the data warehouse. But now if you look to the future and the capabilities that Vodafone have with BigQuery, you can, out of the box, focus really on the services that are driving value for you as a user. So thinking about writing new machine learning capabilities, processing data in real time, and focusing on the outcome rather than the feeding and the watering of the system. Great, let's go to the next slide. For those that are familiar with these social media sites, there's been a lot of positivity and excitement around BigQuery. As you can see there, people calling it game changers, demonstrating how fast it is and the amount that it can scale to. It really is an exciting capability that Vodafone now have their hands on. Okay, so coming to the end of this section, when we think about data warehouses, in the past they were always thought of as operational reporting, so looking historically at how things, how the business is being measured. And then over time we started to look at ad hoc reporting. For example, how many new customers did this monthly newsletter generate? But again, still looking historical and still being a kind of reporting and analysis based system. Nowadays, people are still doing that, of course. You need to do that for finance and operational reporting, but actually you're starting to use data to become more predictive and affect business decisions. So the examples here, how much fuel should we purchase for the next quarter? By using machine learning and predicting based on trends and based on external data, you can actually become a lot smarter as an organization. And this is where we see the top performing organizations standing out, because they are predicting the future, not measuring the past. Okay, and just a very busy picture here, but just to demonstrate that it's not just the data warehouse that Vodafone have access to, they also have access to the full portfolio of Google Cloud. So a lot of our services across the top there are API based. So when you're building applications or services, you can just call an API, build that into your product, and the capability will be provided to you. These APIs have been trained on Google data that we have that come from our Google services. So they're very well trained machine learning models, and it's scary how accurate a speech to text, for example, or a translation can actually be nowadays. And these are being built now into Vodafone's products. We can also provide just the kind of infrastructure platform, of course, and with machine learning nowadays, there's a lot of need to move from the bottom left CPUs, which are traditional compute processing units, to GPUs, graphical processing units, and now to TPUs, which are TensorFlow processing units. And they're essentially very highly optimized machines for machine learning. Again, Vodafone has access to those, and we also provide the latest libraries and frameworks. So think of Kaggle, TensorFlow, Spark. We have those libraries fully available, so you can reuse a lot of the community code that's out there and build that into the applications. Okay, another feature that's available is which is quite exciting, is not just running your queries in a familiar database, but actually exposing those. And there was a picture here, sorry, showing that you can actually display that outcome on a graphical interface. So think of a map, think of dragging and dropping the area of customers, for example, you wanted to target, and understanding and getting insights from that in a graphical way, as opposed to just in a line of code or on a dashboard. And finally, Ulas mentioned at the start that it's very important for Vodafone to retain talent. And one of the ways that we're helping to do that is to provide free access via the Vodafone University to all Vodafone employees, the full catalogue of Google training. So whether you want to become a infrastructure architect or network engineer or an application developer or get into machine learning, the courses are there, they're available. We have both online self-paced training, but also Quick Labs, if you're familiar with that, which is self-paced simulated environments. So you're essentially using Google Cloud, but not spending the money. It's a great training feature that's available to Vodafone employees. And to finish, something that's really important and is being very widely received in the industry is certifications. We offer both associate certifications for those just starting on the learning journey, but also professional certifications, which are great to have on your CV and can help you further your career. Okay, that was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Dorian, it's your section.
Hi, everybody, and thanks, Ulas and Adam. Great stuff. I'm just going to talk you through briefly some of the journey we've been on with big data in Vodafone UK, which kind of sets us up to what comes next, and then some of the challenges we're currently facing into. Just in terms of context, so Ulas gave a great overview of the Vodafone Group as a whole. Vodafone UK, well, we're proud to be the home market of the Vodafone Group. We're where it all started back in the 1980s, and we represent about 10% of Vodafone's global revenues. Which makes us about a €6 billion business. We've got 18 million mobile customers, 750,000 home broadband customers. So you can see that starts to scale quite a lot in terms of data. And we're a growing company as well, so we're outpacing our competitors in the marketplace. In terms of that journey of evolution, started 4 or 5 years ago with big data being set up in Vodafone UK. And back then we were maybe a team of, I think, 7 or 8 of us. We're now 35, sort of split fairly evenly between data scientists and data engineers and so on. Like lots of organizations, this has been that progressive evolution. I'm just going to talk about 3 dimensions of that in terms of use cases and the journey we're on there, the platform story, and then also the data. So use cases, again, it's a story of broadening our impact over time as we've grown the team and grown the credibility of big data and the tools that we can bring to play with our business. So we started very much in that consumer marketing area where I guess predictive analytics has got a heritage in telcos and in many other industries as well, where we're looking to improve the one-to-one communications we do with our customers, what we might term customer value management or base marketing, terms you might be familiar with. And the aim is really there to make the messages that we send to our customers more relevant, more personalized, so that they believe that what we're offering is right for them. There's a higher uptake of the offers we might be able to give them, and they end up with the products and services that suit their needs, and it increases their loyalty to the brand. So areas we would think about here would be customer retention or churn campaigning, so where we're looking to recommit customers and where we're looking to increase their lifetime with us. Cross-sell, where we're looking to say, you're a great mobile customer, have you thought about home broadband with Vodafone? Or upsell, where we're looking to say to somebody, you already buy this from us, how about buying this service as well? We're also working in that space with loyalty and engagement programs as well. So we have a loyalty program for our customers and looking to target the offers, the incentives, and that sort of thing with our customers as well. So making sure that the messages we send that are explaining products and services to them, that are promoting the brand and the benefits of being with Vodafone are relevant and tailored. So we put that under that umbrella called hyper-personalization. And I think telcos have always tried to do some measure of personalization, but big data has really added to that. So if I took an example there, historically we have contacted customers, contract customers with offers when they want to, when their contracts are coming up for renewal. And typically that message would be fairly generic, some part due to the capabilities of our campaign systems, but also due to the data insights we couldn't necessarily build at the time. So we've moved with big data to, as I say, hyper-personalize those messages. So now the message you receive as a customer can contain a recommended device, which is specific to you and your pattern of usage, and maybe your history of the sorts of devices we've seen you use and purchase with us in previous years. We'd also have a recommended price plan, which is something that suits your needs, your consumption of data and minutes, your likelihood to go abroad and use your phone abroad. And we can tailor that price plan to you, and maybe add some discounting to that depending on how price sensitive we think you might be or what sort of churn risk you represent to us. And then we would choose to deliver that message through a different channel to different customers. So we can understand that some customers have a higher likelihood to accept offers if we're going through a digital channel or an unassisted channel. Others really like to talk to a human being. And so we might direct them to a retail store near them or to a telesales agent. So we changed this whole messaging around from being generic, delivered in one way, to being highly tailored. It might even arrive at you on a different day of the week, depending what sort of customer you are, or a different time of day, due to when we think you're receptive to talking to us about extending your contract with us. So we build that hyper-personalization in across a number of dimensions. Similar way, if you're a customer who we might predict now using big data when your data allowance might be due to be consumed. Some customers buy a data allowance that's plenty big enough for them. Others, that data allowance isn't quite enough for their needs in maybe a certain month. And we've all seen our habits change a little bit in recent months, haven't we, since COVID and lockdown. And so we can predict when you might be running out of data and anticipate that event, and then proactively communicate to you. Rather than you getting a nasty shock at the end of the month, we can proactively fit a bundle to suit your needs. And we might determine for some customers this might be a one-off event, and so we might offer you a data bundle that's the right size for you, just a one-off data bundle. Or if we think this is a permanent change in behavior, for our models tell us that, then we might choose to say, why not upgrade your price plan to something with a larger allowance? So it's about tailoring those offers and building that personalization in. So we've been doing those marketing use cases with great success, increased response rates, better engagement from customers and so on for a number of years now. More recently, we've been broadening those use cases into other commercial areas. So kind of broadly umbrella those under customer experience. So Vodafone has an aim to be the #1 in terms of customer experience amongst our telco competitors. And we would look to use big data to look at your experiences with us, all the different touch points you have, whether that's data from our digital channels and how you're interacting with our app and our website, whether it's your usage of your mobile, all the different products you have, your service interactions with call center agents or retail agents, or web chat and our chatbots. And we bring that together and we can look at that and assess the experience you're getting. And we can proactively contact customers if we identify that there are issues that look like we haven't fixed them for you or that we could improve. And so we can proactively contact and introduce that rather than wait for a customer to contact us and say something is wrong. We can proactively offer other things. So for example, if we think your bill is particularly big this month for certain reasons, your usage has changed and maybe it's going to be a bit unexpected for you, we can now proactively contact you about that with information that could help you understand the bill when it comes, to warn you, and that prevents a customer getting frustrated and having to call in to query their bill. We can provide you with that information proactively. It's good for the customer and it's also good for Vodafone if we can stop an unnecessary call into a call center. So it's those sorts of things where we're building that customer experience and improving that there. We're also using big data. I think Ulas mentioned this under the umbrella of what we term smart retail. So we have 500 stores in the UK roughly. Where we put them is really important for our customers to make sure we're accessible to the right sort of customers who want to use that retail channel. And it's really important we put the right stock in those stores, that we lay those stores out with the right range of products and so on. So we're using big data to tailor our store portfolio and to optimize that for our customers to make sure there is a store near them and that it's got the right things in it, the right staffing levels and so on to meet their needs. And that's, again, something we couldn't do previously without all that data. We then also building out use cases now in the area of operations, so where we're looking to target efficiency gains for the company. And there are some big numbers here. So I would target a couple of areas here. So network. So we run a very capital intensive radio network in all Vodafone markets. And we invest multiple hundreds of millions of pounds each year into building capacity and coverage in that radio network. And so it obviously raises the question of trying to optimize that and make that right for Vodafone and right for the customers as well. So understanding open source data about capacity and quality of service that customers experience, and then matching that to where we're putting cell sites and where we're rolling out 5G improvements. All of that can start to optimize that spend, give us a better return on our capital as a company, but also make the experience better for the customers. Energy is another area where, as a company, we spend tens of millions of pounds a year, again, in energy running those radio cell sites. It's quite a hidden cost, and much like Google, we're heading very much for sustainable energy sourcing as well. We're maybe a little bit behind on that journey, but we're doing a very similar thing. But all the same, it's even better to use less energy in the first place. So optimizing that network, using smart meters on all our cell sites, and then using big data models to look for anomalies and look for where we can balance the power of the cell site with the traffic demand at that cell site as well. So smart trade-offs that we can make in running that network from an energy perspective. So that's kind of the journey we're on with use cases, one-to-one marketing, broader commercial customer experience use cases, and then the fundamental operations and the efficiency of the company. Also been on a parallel journey with our platforms. So we started off 4 or 5 years ago with data warehouse data. So we have a Teradata on-premise data warehouse in Vodafone UK. And data scientists newly arrived with local machines, working that data very hard, but all the challenges that brings in terms of running locally, limited scalability, limited power for some of the models, so not able to take advantage of all of those data from all of the 18 million customers, maybe just working with samples. Great for early advantages, but not good for long-term scalability. Also a real challenge for data scientists to run a portfolio of models and maintain them if they don't have the right tools for the job. So as we started up, we were building an on-premise big data platform, which was a platform for Europe, all the European markets for Vodafone, which was a full Cloudera stack shared across multiple markets. And that gave us great scale in data. It gave us brilliant controllability around GDPR, scalable encryption and pseudonymization of data, all of those good things, but we outgrew it quite quickly. And that's part of the narrative about our transition to cloud. So as Vodafone Group has selected Google as the strategic analytics platform for the future. In the UK, we made a little detour via AWS as a cloud provider. Apologies, Adam, ahead of that decision being made. But we will be migrating from AWS to GCP as this financial year proceeds, which we're really looking forward to. And that will give us great advantages of being on that same platform that our sibling markets in Italy and Spain and Portugal and Germany will be on as well. So we're really looking forward to that. In terms of that platform, that is going to give us some fun challenges, which I'll go into on the next slide as well. And then in terms of data, there's been that journey as well as we've increased the sophistication of our big data operation in Vodafone UK. So as referenced, again, starting with simple batch extraction, maybe a day or two latency in your data, simple structured data from those core systems. But as time has gone on, we've enriched that and gone out to APIs and streaming data. So in terms of that would be data from our app, data from our websites coming in, much more unstructured data. So call center agent notes, customer verbatims from customer surveys, all that kind of rich information, which has historically not really been made use of in our telco. So that data journey has, in parallel, helped those use cases become more powerful and given our data scientists and data engineers something really fun to work with as well. Can we have the next slide, Darren? Okay, so 3 kind of challenge areas that we're facing into at the moment in Vodafone UK. So that migration to Google Cloud. Having done one cloud migration, we know a little bit about what's involved, but we're going from one cloud provider to another. What we're not doing is a straightforward lift and shift approach. What we're really looking to do is to converge our BI and our analytics platform into one place, so one single data ocean for the telco. So that's a strategic architectural design. And again, that's something that historically Vodafone markets have taken slightly different choices for our analytics platforms and their data warehousing reporting platforms. We're going to converge that into one. Great advantages in terms of shared data models, common investments, single approach to data governance, unified approach to controlling data, great advantages for us. However, there will be challenges in how we operate when we're trying to prioritize different data investments between a reporting community and a BI community against an analytics and big data community. So we're going to need to make some changes in how we do that. What we're really excited to do, though, is to make that transition, but we're not going to pause what we're doing. So as a big data team, we're continually evolving. And so the challenge is going to be, how do you change platforms while still in a growth phase of your organization? So that's the challenge in terms of that, the famous, how do you change the wheels on the car as you're driving along? We don't want to slow down in any way. We're also expanding that use case portfolio, and that provides a challenge for us. So as we got to know areas of our consumer business and our marketing business very well and understand the data and the commercial dynamics. But as you get out into new use case areas like that network one, whether it's credit risk and fraud and all the other areas that big data can help you drive better efficiencies in, you need to start understanding those areas of the business in depth. And so there's a challenge for all of our teams, data scientists and data engineers, understanding new data sources, understanding new business dynamics, and building that understanding in the team. Acquiring new data sources, equally, again, we can't afford to stop doing that just because we're going to migrate our platform. So we're looking to do that in parallel so we can support the use case growth. And new routes to delivering value. So again, historically, it's been fine to deliver the output of a model into a marketing campaign, and there's established routes for doing that. But when you start looking at use cases around, for example, predicting and working with the care estate, our customer care estate and our call centers, looking to hook into IVR systems and other automation platforms in digital areas as well, that becomes a nice engineering challenge in terms of how you deliver the insights, how you deliver the predictions, the model outputs into new platforms. So there's engineering work to be done there. And then finally, that challenge around innovation. I'm sure many of you will recognize that we all desperately want to innovate, and one of Vodafone's values is to experiment and learn fast. But at the same time, we have day jobs and we have BAU delivery to do, and it's how you balance that in a team, which is always a challenge. So we're very excited by the new tooling that Google Cloud will bring to us, giving our data scientists and engineers access to those latest tools. But we need to create space for them to get to know those tools, to experiment, to try new things out and do that. And one of those innovation angles that we have and we're really grateful for is that global community. So Vodafone UK is part of that Vodafone Group. So we have parallel big data teams in those other 20-ish markets who we can share ideas with, and being on a common platform with common collaboration tools is all part of that for us. So that's one of the ways we're looking to help our teams deliver that innovation. So I think that concludes my brief journey through Vodafone UK. Darren, I'll hand back to you.
Always finding that mute button. Thank you so much, Dorian. So I guess the final part of what we want to make sure we cover today is that Vodafone very much are still hiring across the board, both across group and UK. I lead the Vodafone account from a hackajob perspective, and on a day-to-day basis, I'm shocked by how busy the guys continue to be. So what I would recommend if you are looking at opportunities is to go through their virtual hiring tips and guides. Not only is this going to be useful for what's going on at Vodafone, but just it's a very good, useful tool in general. I'd also recommend reaching out to the team on any queries you've got. The query that always comes on during these webinars is, what is a company doing remotely? More than happy for Dorian and Ulas to take this, but as far as I'm aware, it's business as usual from a recruitment perspective, and everything is being done remotely. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We've continued, as is, we had elements of remote recruitment anyway previously, and we've just upped that. So yes, we fully tackled remote recruitment and remote onboarding as well. So we've onboarded people, data scientists and data engineers in the last 3 months into the team, successfully. Obviously, it's much nicer for them to come and meet the colleagues in person, but we'll do that when it's safe. But at the moment, everyone's working fully remotely, and our collaboration tools and digital tools enable that really well.
Amazing, cool. So I guess now we're on to the Q&A section. For some reason, Zoom isn't allowing me into the Q&A before I unshare my screen. So let me unshare my screen. I know one of the questions that has come in though, that I've seen in the chat, is regarding the move from AWS to GCP and what was the driving factor behind that?
So I'll take that. So the move, I guess I need to predate that with a move from an on-premise platform to AWS for Vodafone UK, which we took in advance of a strategic decision by Vodafone Group on analytics. So we needed to take that for various reasons in the UK, outgrowing that on-premise platform. And we chose AWS. AWS is widely used in other parts of Vodafone UK, so there's an established relationship with that cloud provider and established security controls, etc., for Vodafone data. So we chose that as a natural fit with us at the time. Since that migration, Vodafone Group has taken a strategic decision to move all analytics for all markets onto Google Cloud. So we will migrate alongside those other markets. And again, Adam, you can put your hands over your ears, but Vodafone has ongoing relationships with all cloud providers, as well as being a cloud provider in partnership with IBM in its own right in the B2B space. So like many markets, like many organizations, we don't have a foot in just one camp.
Makes sense. And then I guess a question for Adam, which security standards does Google fit? And a second question on top of that, how does Access reconstruct original log data if it's disrupted by intruder into the cloud?
Well, you're testing my technical knowledge here, right? I think on the first question in terms of security, as you can imagine, as a global cloud platform supporting very highly regulated industries like financial services and telecommunications, we have to meet the highest security standards. They're all documented on our website, but the usual kind of ISO 27001, etc., are all certified. And in fact, Vodafone have taken a very heightened stance on security, and all of that was reviewed in depth during the decision process. So all of the ones you would expect for a highly regulated industry. Two, I'm going to have to pass on, I'm afraid, because that's a bit too detailed for me. But I can take your third question, which is around programming languages. Yes, SQL and Python are very common and very much preferred, I think, programming languages to use on Google Cloud. Typically SQL for data analysts, and typically Python for data scientists and machine learning engineers. We do support other libraries, like think of Go, Ruby, obviously C++ and Java for building applications, but also TensorFlow libraries are of course prevalent there as well. But anything that's open source based and common is available on Google Cloud. So we do give you flexibility.
Amazing. And then I guess a question to both Ulas and Dorian. Is all Vodafone data in the cloud? And if not, what type of data is still on premise?
I can take that for Vodafone UK. So we have core on-premise systems. So our live operational systems are a mixture of cloud-based and on-premise. In terms of analytics data, at the moment, there's a mixture, as I say. So we have a BI warehouse, which is on-premise, and we have cloud-based data for big data. That will change, and as I say, during the migration program for both of those that we're working with Google, that will migrate 100% to Google Cloud.
Yep.
Great.
I think that's fairly typical of other markets as well, Ulas.
Same, yeah.
Great. And then next question is, how has Vodafone dealt with the current pandemic that's ongoing from your perspectives, and like how are you getting around some of the challenges of that?
So I think there's multiple dimensions in terms of the way we can answer that question. So I think firstly, if I take people, so the first thing is to make sure your operations are safe for your people. So we were very early, kind of pre-official lockdown in closing our office locations, pretty much globally, and enabling remote working. So certainly Vodafone UK, 100% of our call center agents now work from home, and our retail staff became web chat agents delivering similar services that they would do in a retail store, but delivering that remotely. And so that's something we continue to support. So we are 100% remote working, apart from certain key workers who need to be out, for example, maintaining our network or running our network operations to keep the phone networks running. Another one is, I guess, dimension is supporting key customers. So we, for example, in Vodafone run the NHS 111 helpline. Is actually one of our B2B fixed provisions that we do. So there are certain customers where we have, supported them as their businesses have changed dramatically. So either with lots of home workers and so on. So we've seen demand for certain products go up, and other products go down. So we've had to flex as a business in response to that. So first one, staff, then customers. And I think the other aspect is also broader help in society. So we have done work, as Ulas hinted at, in terms of similar work to that which we do with malaria and Ebola in sub-Saharan Africa, where we've been working with a number of governmental agencies and research institutions in terms of where mobility insights about customers and how those mobilities have changed during the response to COVID-19. And that's been supporting public action, public health action in a number of our markets. So Vodafone's very publicly said where we can help, we will do that, subject to all the usual controls and respects around privacy and consent from customers.
Also, Dorian, it will be great to mention that I'm super excited about this journey during 3 months. Of course, you know that we are a retail and digital sales mixer. We have 2 different channels, like digital sales and retail. So before the pandemic, you can think that how you can manage your digital capabilities if there's any urgent situation like COVID. And what we see, actually, we understood that we are totally ready for digital sales without our retail channels. So really, there is a great change in terms of digital working. For instance, in the call center area, yes, you know, most of the call centers are outsourced in the many global companies. For the Vodafone, we saw that our workers, employees, can work from home, you know, in the following months too. So it's a great change that we change our way of working, business model. So the Vodafone, I think, catch the opportunity from this pandemic, and it started to become a more digital company with insourcing strategy. We are not using outsourced software engineers or data scientists. We are insourcing people. We are using more digital channels, and we try to make more digital related use cases to become a more tech company. So there is a great opportunity in this type of crisis.
Great. And then I think an on-looking future question is a really interesting question around where do you think Vodafone's future is going? I guess from a data perspective rather than a all-encompassing business perspective.
Yeah, I think again, there's many different dimensions there. I think it's about saying that, and a little bit of touched on that in my kind of journey presentation, that I think there's more and more areas that every place in the company, I think there's an opportunity for data to improve things for customers and to improve things for the efficiency and the operating way of the company. And I think you start with what you think are the obvious areas, and then you start uncovering, having more and more conversations of where data can play. So fundamentally, I think we're going to expand that data coverage beyond customer and those obvious big ones of network and platforms. But I think there will be every aspect of the company will become subject to data being explored, mined, and used for predictive its predictive power in terms of determining the right recommendations, not just for customers, but for internal actions as well. So I can see data growing in terms of data volumes and what we choose to look at, where we acquire it from, and what we choose to do. I think probably, and as a couple of questions came up about, most of what I talked about was B2C. We do have a separate B2B division who have their own big data capabilities running parallel on our platforms. And we do offer certain services to both our own customers and B2B customers. And I think there will be more focus on B2B offerings, so particularly in the areas of IoT, where Ulas said we are a global leader with 100 million plus IoT connections, massively growing platform business for us as a global company. And I think what we choose to offer on top of that in terms of data science and AI as a service, on top of that will be a really interesting growth industry. So looking forward to that. The connectivity that 5G offers, narrowband IoT, etc., is only going to multiply out the amount of data we have, and therefore the use cases we can do on the back of it. So to me, it's just an ongoing trajectory. Data is everywhere. Data is driving the company more and more every year, and that's it's a long-term strategy for us.
Great, and I guess a final question that I've seen in the chat, and with AWS again, Adam, close your ears, but AWS kind of leading a lot of the time for where you see candidates have got experience in AWS rather than GCP. Is there an openness within Vodafone for someone's come from any cloud, or do you think going forward you'll be looking for GCP experts?
I think, look, yes and no. There are certain highly technical roles in terms of managing and working with the Google Cloud Platform where Google Cloud experience is going to be really important to us. And then on the other end of it, for a data scientist, I think there's, again, potentially a much smaller jump for some people. So if you're working in a highly technical aspect of platform security or something, then we want to bring some GCP creds with the people we recruit. But if you're a data scientist, for example, actually I'm just as interested in your ability to understand a business problem, to break it down, to work with stakeholders, and to use a variety of open source tools, as you know, whether packaged up in terms of our Google Cloud Platform or other ones. And so I'm more open on that end of recruitment to people who don't have that Google Cloud experience. So we'll talk to different people.
Great. So we've reached the end of the chat today. We've got just under 60 seconds to go. So I want to make sure that we obviously say the goodbyes before we jump off. Firstly, I want to thank all three of you guys for attending today. There's been a lot of questions in the chat and the Q&A that we've not been able to get through. I think that when I looked and did a rough guess, we're at something like 45 questions across the two areas, so you're never going to get through all of them. But if people have questions following this, are you quite open to people reaching out and asking you questions? And if so, how is the best way to reach out to you guys?
Yep, for me, connect with me on LinkedIn, ask me a question on a direct message there, that's fine.
Same.
I haven't got the beard on LinkedIn, but it is me. Another lockdown effect.
I think everyone's growing a beard during lockdown. It's the same for you and you on LinkedIn as well, Ulas? And Adam as well, I guess?
Yeah, for me too.
Perfect.
If there is any specific questions I also saw that someone wants to apply for the roles in the Vodafone Group, so in the Vodafone environment, so we will be happy to support and give answers about everything. So more than welcome.
Perfect. Cool. So I'll sign off now. Thank you again for everyone that attended, and send any questions across to either the guys or send them across our hello@hackajob if you've got questions directly to us. Thank you very much, guys.